alone in the endless ocean by now.
Months had already passed since the storm.
The tiny fishing boat continued drifting across the endless Pacific Ocean. The sun burned relentlessly during the day.
At night, the temperature dropped and the cold winds cut through their thin clothing.
Life on that small boat had become a daily battle for survival. But the biggest problem was no longer hunger or thirst. It was hope, and slowly,
Ezequiel Córdoba was losing it.
refusing to eat at first, Córdoba simply complained about the raw food. He hated the taste of uncooked fish. He hated the smell of turtle meat,
And the thought of eating birds
made him feel sick. But over time,
his disgust turned into complete refusal. Days passed without him eating anything.
Alvarenga tried everything. He begged him, he shouted at him,
He even tried to force food into his hands.
but Córdoba pushed it away every time.
I can't eat this anymore, he kept saying. I'd rather die. For Alvarenga, those words were terrifying, because he knew something Córdoba didn't.
Out here in the open ocean,
Giving up meant certain death.
the body begins to fail within weeks. Córdoba's body started to shut down. He became extremely weak.
His face turned pale.
His eyes looked hollow and distant. Sometimes he couldn't even sit up. He would lie at the bottom of the boat, staring silently at the sky.
The once energetic young man was slowly fading away.
Alvarenga tried to keep him alive.
He collected rainwater for him.
He caught fish,
He even cut small pieces of meat and placed them beside him.
but Córdoba barely touched them. His body had already started collapsing.
The final conversation one evening, as the sun slowly disappeared behind the ocean horizon.
Córdoba spoke again.
But this time, his voice was barely a whisper.
He told Alvarenga something that chilled him to the bone.
If I die, promise me you won't eat my body for a moment.
Alvarenga couldn't speak,
The thought had never even crossed my mind.
but Córdoba had clearly been thinking about it. Alvarenga quickly shook his head.
No, he said.
I promise, but Córdoba continued.
I know people do that when they're starving. Again, Alvarenga insisted.
I promise I won't. The conversation ended there, and silence returned to the drifting boat. Neither of them realized
That it would be their last real conversation together.
the death of Córdoba a few days later. Córdoba stopped moving completely. At first, Alvarenga thought he was simply sleeping.
But when he tried to wake him,
There was no response. The young fisherman had died, out there in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, thousands of miles away from land. Alvarenga was now completely alone.
the silence that followed felt heavier than anything he had ever experienced.
For days, he didn't know what to do.
He kept talking to Córdoba's body.
As if he was still alive, he asked him questions. He waited for answers that would never come. The loneliness had already started affecting his mind. Saying goodbye eventually, Alvarenga realized something painful.
He couldn't keep the body on the boat forever.
The tropical heat had already begun its work.
So one evening, with tears in his eyes,
He pushed Córdoba's body gently into the ocean.
the sea swallowed it instantly.
Within seconds, it disappeared beneath the surface, and just like that, Alvarenga became the only living human for miles in every direction.
He was now truly alone.
Total isolation days turned into weeks again. But now, there was no one to talk to.
No one to share the struggle with.
No one to remind him that the world still existed. The loneliness became unbearable. Sometimes he spoke out loud just to hear a human voice. Sometimes he imagined conversations with people from his past.
Other times,
He simply stared at the ocean for hours without moving.
his mind was slowly drifting.
Just like the boat. Hallucinations after months of isolation. Something strange began happening. Alvarenga started seeing things. At first, it was just shadows, shapes moving across the water.
But eventually, the hallucinations became clearer. He thought he saw boats in the distance.
He waved his arms desperately, but when he looked again, there was nothing.
Other times,
He believed he heard voices.
people calling his name, but the ocean remained silent. His mind was playing tricks on him.
Talking to the sky to stay sane. Alvarenga created routines. Every morning,
He would wake up and scan the horizon for ships. Then he would catch fish or birds for food.
whenever rain came, he collected water.
At night, he talked to the sky. He talked about his childhood, his family, his dreams.
It didn't matter that no one was listening. Talking kept him human. Without it, he feared he might lose his mind completely. The longest months by now. Alvarenga had survived longer than almost anyone last at sea.
But the ocean still showed no mercy.
Storms continued. The sun burned his skin constantly. His beard grew long and tangled. His body became extremely thin.
Yet somehow,
He refused to give up.
every day he told himself the same thing.
Just survive one more day, then another.
And another. A tiny sign of hope after drifting for many more months. Something finally appeared on the horizon.
At first, Alvarenga thought it was another hallucination.
But as the boat drifted closer,
The shape became clearer. It wasn't a ship.
it wasn't another boat. It was something else. Something he hadn't seen in over a year. Land.
A small tropical island was slowly rising from the ocean.
For a moment,
Alvarenga couldn't believe his eyes.
after more than a year lost at sea, his nightmare might finally be ending.